Okay, so this is sternum. Sternum is an elongated flat bone and it lies in the anterior median part of the chest wall and it is about 7 centimeter long. So it is a bone in the anterior median part of the chest and is 7 centimeter long. Now coming to the parts of sternum, sternum has got mainly 3 parts. This is manubrium, this is the body, and there is a lower part, that is the xiphoid process. So upper part is manubrium, the middle part is body, and the lower part is xiphoid process. The manubrium sterni is otherwise known as episternum. The middle part or the body is otherwise known as mesosternum, and the lower part, the xiphoid process, is otherwise known as metasternum. Now the sternum, coming to the upper part. The upper part of the sternum, it is, as you can see, very broad and thick, but its lower part is very thin and pointed, and its anterior surface is very rough and convex, whereas its posterior surface is smooth and slightly concave. So the upper part is broad, lower part is thin, the anterior surface is rough and convex, posterior surface is smooth and concave. And also the manubrium and the body is at an angle of 163 degree to each other. It is at an angle of 163 degree to each other. Okay. So if you are asked to place this in anatomical position, so the sternum is directed downwards and it is inclined slightly forward. The rough convex surface should be anterior. The smooth concave surface should be posterior. The broad end should be directed upwards and the lower pointed end should be directed downwards. So that is the anatomical position. Now we will study about each parts. First of all, about manubrium. Manubrium or the episternum. Manubrium, as you can see, it is roughly quadrilateral in shape. It lies opposite to the third and fourth thoracic vertebrae. That is, it is at the level of T3, T4. It is the thickest and strongest part of the sternum, and it has got two surfaces. It has got an anterior surface, it has got a posterior surface, it has got 4 borders. There is an superior border, an inferior border, and 2 lateral borders, that is the right and left borders. So 2 surfaces, anterior surface and posterior surface, 4 borders, superior border, inferior border, and 2 lateral borders, that is the right and left borders. Okay. So first of all, we will learn about the anterior surface. So as it is marked here, the anterior surface on each side provide attachment to the sternal head of sternocleidomastoid and pectoralis major muscle. This is the attachment of sternal head of sternocleidomastoid and the pectoralis major muscle. So anterior surface gives attachment to 2 muscles, sternocleidomastoid and pectoralis major. Coming to the posterior surface, as you can see, posterior surface is very smooth. It forms the anterior boundary of superior mediastinum. You will have another class on mediastinum. Just keep in mind that the posterior surface of manubrium forms the anterior boundary of superior mediastinum. And on each side, it also provides attachment to 2 muscles, sternohyoid above and sternothyroid below. So sternohyoid, sternothyroid. Anteriorly sternocleidomastoid and pectoralis major, posteriorly sternohyoid and sternothyroid. Okay. Now the lower half of the posterior surface is related to the arch of aorta. The lower half of the posterior surface is related to the arch of aorta. That is why when you do bone marrow puncture for bone marrow aspiration, when you do a sternal puncture for bone marrow aspiration, you always puncture at the lower half. Always puncture with the upper half. This is to avoid injury to the arch of aorta that is lying posterior to the lower half. So you always do bone marrow puncture on the upper half of the sternum. This is to avoid inadvertent injury to the arch of aorta which is lying posterior to the lower half. Okay. So lower half of the posterior surface is related to the arch of aorta. Upper half is related to the branches of arch of aorta. So arch of aorta, there are three branches coming from the arch of aorta. You have the brachiocephalic artery, the left common carotid artery, and left subclavian artery. The upper half is also related to the left brachiocephalic vein. So lower half is related to arch of aorta. Upper half is related to three branches of arch of aorta, that is brachiocephalic artery, left common carotid artery, and left subclavian artery, and also the left brachiocephalic vein. So in children, the manubrium is very thin. So you avoid sternal puncture in children, because if it go through, if the needle pass through, it can injure all these great vessels that are related to the posterior surface of the upper part of the sternum, and it can lead to fatal hemorrhage. That is why you avoid sternal puncture for bone marrow aspiration in children. Okay. Now coming to the upper border. Upper border, as you can see, it is very thick and concave. You can see it is concave, right? So it has got a central notch. This is the suprasternal notch or the jugular notch. So in the upper border, the central notch is jugular notch or the suprasternal notch. It provides attachment to the interclavicular ligament. On either side, you have two notches. These notches are called the clavicular notch. Here, the clavicle will come and articulate to form the sternoclavicular joint. So in the middle, you have the suprasternal notch. On either side, you have the clavicular notch. Okay. Then coming to the lateral border. On the lateral border, you have two articular facets. The upper facet will articulate with the first costal cartilage, and the lower facet will articulate with the second costal cartilage. So upper border has got jugular notch and two clavicular notches. On the lateral border, you have two facets for the first and second costal cartilage. Now coming to the lower border, as you can see, the lower border is articulating with the body of sternum to form the manubriosternal joint. This is the manubriosternal joint, the joint between the manubrium and body of sternum. And the manubrium makes a slight angle with the body. There is a slight angle here, and that angle here is called the sternal angle or the angle of Louis. And it can be recognized by the presence of a transverse ridge on the anterior aspect of the sternum. And you can palpate this transverse ridge, you can palpate this sternal angle, and that's very important. I will tell you later, because there are many anatomical events that is happening at the level of sternal angle. So that is all about manubrium or the episternum. Now coming to the body or the mesosternum. Now the features of body, as you can see, it is long, it is narrower, it is thinner than the manubrium. It is broad at lower end than the upper end. And the upper end is articulating with the manubrium at the sternal angle to form the manubriosternal joint. Now the lower end will articulate with the xiphod to form the xiphisternal joint. The upper end is articulating with the manubrium to form the manubriosternal joint. Anterior surface. On the anterior surface, you can see that on either side it is giving origin to the pectoralis major muscle. So on the anterior surface, on either side it is giving origin to the pectoralis major muscle. So on the anterior surface, here you have the sternocleidomastoid. Here at the lower part of the manubrium, you have the pectoralis major. Again on either side of the anterior surface of the body, you have pectoralis major muscle. Coming to the posterior surface, it is very smooth and it is slightly concave. Now, lower part of the posterior surface gives origin to sternocostalis muscle. Sternocostalis muscle. On the right side of median plane, the posterior surface is related to pleura, which separates it from the lung. On the left side of the median plane, the upper half of the body, till here, upper half of the body is related to the pleura, which separates it from the lung. The rest of the part, the lower half, is related to pericardium, that is the bare area of pericardium. Coming to the lateral border articulate with the 2nd to 7th costal cartilages. Strictly speaking, 2nd costal cartilage is articulating at the manubriosternal junction and the 7th costal cartilage is articulating at the xiphisternal junction. So to summarize, anterior surface on either side pectoralis major muscle is having origin. The posterior surface on the lower aspect on either side you have sternocostalis muscle origin. On the right side of the right, to the right of the median plane, you have, it is related to the pleura of the right leg. The upper half of the left side is related to the pleura of the left leg, but the lower half is related to the pericardium or the bare area of pericardium. The lateral border is articulating with the 2nd to 7th costal cartilages. Now coming to xiphoid process, it is broken here. Xiphoid process is the lowest and smallest part of the sternum. It varies greatly in size and shape. Anterior surface provides insertion to the rectus abdominis, and posterior surface gives origin to sternal fibers of diaphragm, and tip provides attachment to linea alba. So anterior surface you have insertion of rectus abdominis, posterior surface you have origin of diaphragm, and at the tip you have the attachment of linea alba. So to summarize, once again, muscles attached to the anterior surface of the sternum. You have sternal head of sternocleidomastoid. Here and here you have pectoralis major. Then on the anterior surface of the xiphoid process, you have rectus abdominis. Posteriorly, sternohyoid, sternothyroid, sternocostalis, and on the posterior aspect of xiphoid, you have diaphragm attaching. And at the tip of the xiphoid, you have the attachment of linea alba. Now I told you there are various anatomical events that is happening at the sternal angle or the angle of Louis. The sternal angle is at 5 centimeter, is located 5 centimeter below the sternal notch, and you can palpate the sternal angles. So it is a very important surface bony landmark. So what are the anatomical events happening here? As I told you earlier, the second costal cartilage articulate at the manubriosternal joint, at the level of manubriosternal joint or at the level of angle of Louis. The second costal cartilage is articulating here. And we have learned earlier on that this is at the level of intervertebral disc between T4 and T5 vertebrae. So second costal cartilage, the intervertebral disc between T4 and T5. Then it is also the corresponding to the horizontal plane passing through the separation between superior mediastinum and inferior mediastinum. We have learned earlier on that the posterior surface of the manubrium forms the anterior boundary of the superior mediastinum. So it is this angle of Louis that forms the point of separation between superior mediastinum and inferior mediastinum. Ascending aorta ends at, ascending aorta comes like this and ends at this level. Arch of aorta begins at this level. Arch of aorta ends at this level. Descending aorta begins at this level. You know the lower half of the posterior surface is related to arch of aorta. So the ascending aorta will end at this level. Arch of aorta will begin at this level. Arch of aorta will end at this level. Descending aorta will begin at this level. Then trachea will bifurcate into right and left principal bronchi at this level. Pulmonary trunk will divide into right and left pulmonary arteries at this level. Upper border of heart lies at this level, and azygous vein arches over the root of right lung to end in superior vena cava at this level. So once again, to repeat the importance of the angle of Louis or the sternal angle, here we have the articulation of second costal cartilage, so you can use that to count the ribs. It is at the level of T4, T5. It is the level at which the superior mediastinum is separated from inferior mediastinum. Ascending aorta ends, arch of aorta begins, arch of aorta ends, descending aorta begins at this level. Trachea and pulmonary trunk divides into right and left at this level. Upper border of heart lies at this level. And azygous vein arches over the root of right lung to end in the superior vena cava at this level. So that is the importance of sternal angle. Now I will tell you about the clinical correlation.